Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Competitive Battlin. Today, we're gonna take a look at old Bisharp over here. You guys don't already know, Bisharp, dark steel type. He's pretty cool. He's based on, he's supposed to be based on, I believe, the bishop in chess, the chess piece, and because, you know, Poniard is like based on the pawn, and evolves into another chess piece, the bishop. However, you know, he looks like the Red Ranger, so I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be chess theme. So I like chess. Chess is cool. You know, it's pretty cool, man. It's a cool game. Check it out. But we're gonna go ahead and take a look at old Bisharp over here. Take a look at what he does in battle. So let's go ahead and start off with his EV spread with that nature. What you're going to do here is you're going to want to give him either adamant, which is honestly what I recommend, or jolly. You have the option with that. And I'll get to jolly here in a second, but in general, you're going to want to go with adamant. And I'll tell you here when we get into a moveset what jolly would be mainly for. So we're going to go ahead and on this set, we're going to max that attack, and we're going to max that speed, and throw your leftovers and HP, and you're good to go. And we are doing two sets today. We're going to do an offensive set, and we're going to do it's still offensive set, but it's more, it's a bulky offensive, where this one's more, a little more fragile. Granted, he's got some pretty good defense right there. His special defense is alright, but that defense is pretty good. And his HP, it's not too great, but that defense is pretty great. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and do this EV spread on this, and make sure you go with that adamant, unless, I'll get to that in a second on the move set. You do have the option of jolly if you decide to run a specific move. So as for the item, generally, you're going to want a life orb. However, of course, an alternate to a life orb, as always, is that lumberry. And you're going to run that lumberry if you've already got someone else on your team running a life orb, because life orbs are a pretty common item to run. And so, more than likely, you might already have somebody on your team with one. And that that lumberry will get rid of those nasty burns for you, and any other status for that matter, but life orb's generally what you're going to want. And as for the ability, you're going to want Defiant. It's great. He's got Inner Focus, which, not bad. You don't flinch. It's not horrible. And then you got Pressure, which, you know, isn't amazing, but it could be worse. But Defiant, oh baby. Defiant, every stat drop that you get from a foe, like say they intimidate you or something, you'll get a +2 attack in addition. So if they intimidate you, you'll -1 in attack, and then you'll +2 in attack, so you end up with a +1. And that's mainly when Defiant will activate off that Intimidate, but if they use any other stat dropping move as well that lowers any of your stats, you're still gonna get a +2 attack for the trouble. So that's definitely the ability you want to go with here. So let's jump into the move set. Clearly, you're gonna want to get some stab, and he's a dark steel type. So first off, let's go ahead and get that dark type stab. And yeah, I didn't spell that right. Knockoff. I wanted to combine it into one word. Knoff. So yeah, knockoff. It's a beautiful move. If you don't know what it does, 65 base power, multiplies its damage by 1.5 just for the opponent having an item on, which in competitive play, they should always have an item. So you're basically guaranteed that 1.5 boost. And then it also removes their item. So you get rid of their item, you get extra damage because they had their item, and it's all around not a bad power in the first place. It could be better, of course, but 65's not bad, especially when it's getting a 1.5 boost, basically guaranteed. So you're good to go. You're good to go. And as far as any other options here, there is always Night Slash with that extra critical hit ratio with the 70 accuracy, but it's just not nearly as good as Knockoff. So, you know, if you really want to run a different move than Knockoff, Night Slash would be your go-to, but run Knockoff. Like, just run it. It's good. So let's get our Steel type stab now, and that's going to be Iron Head. Iron Head, another physical move for us here, 80 base power, and it's got a 30% chance to flinch. That's not a bad flinch chance. So you're good to go. It's a strong move, it hits hard, and you got that nice 30% chance to flinch. So you're good to go on that end. So let's get into some more moves here. Sucker Punch, baby. That's priority. Sucker Punch will go first if the opponent is using an attacking move. If they're using a status move, on the other hand, your Sucker Punch won't do anything to them. It won't damage them, it'll just fail. So you gotta know when to predict to use the Sucker Punch, but Sucker Punch is great, and it definitely keeps the pressure on the opponent, because they gotta guess, oh crap, if I attack him, is he gonna Sucker Punch me and KO me first, or what? You know, they gotta try and predict around that. However, if they're predicting around that, then you gotta predict around their predictions, and then you get into some crazy mind games, but, you know, you just gotta get used to doing all those crazy mind games in competitive play, because that's a whole lot of competitive play, is just crazy mind games. So, on to the last slot. You've got a few choices here. I mean, Bisharp, you know, he's got a few different things he can run here, and none of them are particularly bad. I'd say he's got access to Protect, and this I would see on a lot of double sets, because Protect on a double set is just great, you know, for team play mainly. I mean, you know, you got a teammate using Earthquake, Protect, you won't take damage, because Bisharp's a Steel type. If you get hit by an Earthquake, that's gonna hurt. And, you know, you can save yourself from stuff like that, you know, just save your stuff from things in general when you know that they're gonna attack your Bisharp, you know. Protect your Bisharp and let your teammate take care of them, you know. Things like that. And, you know, that definitely goes back to the crazy mind games you gotta play. Predictions have to be made. But, you know, that would be particularly for a double set. And then if you're going singles, you know, you got access to things such as Pursuit. Pursuit's a good move because if they know you have Pursuit, it scares them from switching out. You know, you switch into Bisharp on, you know, something that don't like dark type attacks. You got plenty of dark type attacks here. However, if they switch out, they gotta deal with this dark type attack hitting them as they switch out. And I'll explain what Pursuit does if you don't know what it does. Pursuit will hit them before they switch out, if they switch out the turn that you use Pursuit. So what'll happen is they'll go to switch out, but they'll take that damage from Pursuit and then switch out. And it's only got a 40 base power, but if they are switching out, it doubles. So it's an 80 base power move that hits them before they switch out. So they don't get out safely, and they take a double powered move, you know, gets up to 80 base power. That's pretty crazy, and especially if they're switching out in the first place to avoid one of your dark type moves, they're basically a goner. So that's great. It keeps the pressure on, and it forces them to stay in, honestly. If they know you have it, and if they don't know you have it, well, then they made a grave mistake trying to switch out. And then, as for the last slot, he gets access to Low Kick, and Low Kick is where I'd say if you're running Low Kick, that's when Jolly becomes an option because, and the reason that is because low kick is mainly here to deal with other Bisharps, because Bisharp has become quite a commonly used Pokemon in OU particularly. So having something to deal with, you know, a Bisharp, because that's a fighting type, he's a Dark Steel. That's 4 times effective. That's gonna hurt. Bisharp's also, you know, it's stronger on heavier targets, and Bisharp's not that, he's not that heavy. However, he's not super lightweight either. He's a steel type. Not too many steel types are lightweight, if you know what I'm saying. So that becomes an option there. And so, you know, I wouldn't run it. Let's see. I mean, I wouldn't run it, you know, if I was just making a general set. I'd definitely go with Pursuit or, you know, Protect if I was doing exclusively doubles for it. But, you know, you do gotta keep in mind, low kick is gonna come in handy on a lot of things, and it does provide great coverage. However, the main threat that it helps with is another Bisharp. That is the main threat that will, you know, you'll be able to take care of easily. And with the Jolly nature, you'll be guaranteed to outspeed the other Bisharp if, of course, they're not also running a Jolly nature on a set and also have the low kick. But, you know, you can't ever really know for sure what they have until, you know, you ask them. But, you know. So in general, Pursuit or Protect if you were exclusively doing doubles, because Pursuit could also work in doubles, but, you know, if you're doing an exclusive doubles set, then I'd say Protect is where you would go. And then low kick, just in case if you want to have a bit of a different move set, and it helps you definitely, you know, be a bit more niche. It'll be more effective in more specific battles that involve like other Bisharps or specifically things that would hate to take a low kick, but in general it'd be less effective than the Pursuit. So that does it for this set. We're gonna go ahead and go take a look at the Blue Ranger set over here and see what we can do on this. So this set is gonna be a bit different. We are gonna run Adamant for sure, and we're going to want to max his attack. However, this is a bit of a bulkier set, so what you're going to do is get as much HP investment as you can. However, you also want to get some speed investment if you want to go that route. You don't have to go with speed investment. Here, a couple different options here is to max your HP and throw your leftovers in special defense, because we are going Assault Vest, baby, and that turns this Assault Vest, or I mean this special defense stat here, into something that is not too shabby at all. It multiplies your special defense stat by 1.5, so that's great. However, you might want to get some speed investment in here, because there's a few things that Bisharp has some trouble with. And that's particularly, if you don't know already, Azumarill has gotten crazy. He's a fairy type now. He gets play rough, and boy does he play rough. Boy does he play rough. So he gets pretty crazy, and that is a main threat for, you know, Bisharp over here, because Azumarill, he's only got base 50 speed. However, there's sets that max that speed, and what you want to do in order to outspeed an Azumarill, you would run 96 and then throw your leftover in HP, and then you'd be good to go. You would be good to go. However, you know, Azumarill is only really one Pokemon, and the only other threats that this 96 will help with is any other base 50 speed Pokemon that max their speed. However, Azumarill is really the main one to point out there, so if you don't want to worry about that, I'd go max your speed and then throw your leftovers in special. And, you know, he is a dark type, so the fairy does hurt. However, you are also a steel type, so that's the thing. So, yeah, you know, that's the thing. So, you might not be taking play roughs because he's a steel type, clearly. So, you know, things like Azumarill's Waterfall are still gonna hurt hard. Especially that belly drum set. Ooh boy. He belly drums, he gets his citrus berry, and he hits hard. So he aqua jets and hits hard, but the waterfall definitely hit harder. So anyways, keep that in mind. I just wanted to mention that, but in general, I'd say this is a bit of a better, more generalized set. And so as far as the ability, definitely go with Defiant again. Definitely go with Defiant. So that brings us back here to the moveset. So of course, gonna go with Knockoff, and that's 2 words, and it also doesn't have 2 O's. Yeah, Knockoff. And like always, like I said, Knockoff is a great move. Doubles in power if they have an item. Everyone should have an item in competitive play. Iron Head as well. Iron Head, beautiful. Great move. 30% chance to flinch. And then, if I can learn how to spell, we could maybe get through a moveset for once. Sucker Punch. And Sucker Punch, priority, baby. It's great. I mean, it's priority. And then, last but not least, you know, you got your choices. I'd say, in general, Pursuit's your best choice. Pursuit. You know, there's always Low Kick. You know, that's an option. Actually, you know what? It looks like Bisharp gets access to Low Sweep. And that you might want to consider as well. Because it has a 100% chance to lower their speed, and it has a set base power, so you might want to consider that as well. And that would apply to the first moveset as well. Keep that in mind. And then, you know, if you're doing exclusively double battles, Protect would definitely be an option there. And that does it for this set. I do have a few random notes that I did forget to mention on the first set over here. Before we finish up this video, that last slot, you also have Sword Stance as a choice if you would like to go a boosting route. And I was gonna make this into its own separate set for the Sword Stance, however, I'm just gonna go ahead and let you know here. It would basically be the same exact set, same EV spread, same item, same everything. Just last slot, you have an option for Sword Stance. So, you know, instead of making that its own separate set and going through all this jazz, I'm just gonna let you know right here, Sword Stance set. It functions differently, but it runs everything the same, you know, because you're boosting, so you have to spend time boosting, and so it functions differently. You don't just straight out go attacking, but as far as your EV spread, your ability, your item, and even the rest of your move slots, it'd be identical to this one. So we're just gonna go ahead and let you know here. And now that I've got that out of the way, that does it for Bisharp, honestly, guys. If you liked this video, thanks for watching. And if you didn't like it, thanks for watching anyways. If you did like it though, be sure to hit that like button. And if you disliked it, be sure to hit the dislike button. They make those buttons for a reason. Go ahead and use them. And if you want to see one of my next videos coming out, hit that subscribe button so you can get those alerts on when they come out. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys later. This has been a Bisharp competitive battling. Later, guys.